That afternoon, the heavy, dense air of a New York City summer seemed to vibrate with the heat radiating from the asphalt. The bustling streets were a blur of metal and haste, a river of yellow cabs and SUVs flowing indifferent to the countless stories hidden on every corner, in every anonymous face in the crowd. Inside the climate-controlled sanctuary of his luxury sedan, Ethan drove, the muffled sound of the city mixing with a melancholy jazz tune from the speakers. His thoughts, however, were louder than any urban symphony. Life had catapulted him to heights few ever reached, a pinnacle of corporate success and material wealth. Yet, lately, a hollow, persistent emptiness echoed in his meticulously planned routine, making him question if true happiness lay in achievements that could be quoted on the stock market. He had just left another meeting, the final handshake sealing a multi-million-dollar deal that should have brought him euphoria. Instead, he felt only a profound weariness, a fatigue in his soul that money, with all its vaunted omnipotence, could not cure. The light turned a commanding red, and Ethan stopped the car, the engine purring softly. His gaze drifted out the window, watching the frantic movement of pedestrians. Each person seemed driven by a purpose, a destination, a silent struggle invisible to the rest of the world. And it was then, amidst that choreographed chaos, that he saw her. Sitting on the curb, a figure huddled against the world's indifference, her face hidden in her hands. Chloe was crying. They were silent sobs swallowed by the incessant noise of the street, but the pain emanating from her was a deafening scream to anyone willing to listen. Pedestrians swerved around her as if she were an invisible statue, an obstacle to be avoided but not acknowledged. No one stopped, no one asked, no one cared. But something in that scene, in the rawness of that despair, touched Ethan in a way he couldn't explain, much less ignore. It was as if the universe, in its infinite and mysterious conspiracy, was asking him to look, to stop, to see beyond the polished surface of his own existence. She was there, completely immersed in her pain, a small cardboard box full of candy bars beside her, the symbol of her daily struggle for survival. Her hands trembled as she tried in vain to control the sobs that escaped her lips. Ignoring the impatient honks that began to protest behind him, Ethan felt an instinctive impulse, a force that compelled him to act. Something inside him, a long dormant voice, told him that this woman needed help. He turned off the car, got out, and felt the shock of the heat on his face. His Italian leather shoes made a crisp, sharp sound against the hot asphalt. The expensive cologne he wore, a fragrance of success and power, contrasted violently with the smell of exhaust, sweat, and desperation that hung on that corner. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice firm but with an unexpected gentleness that surprised even himself. Chloe slowly lifted her face. Ethan saw eyes red and swollen from crying, but through the veil of tears, there was a raw, natural beauty that struck him. It was a tired, wounded beauty, but undeniably genuine. "My ex-husband," Chloe stammered, trying to catch her breath, the words coming out in broken fragments, like shards of a shattered stained glass window. "He cheated on me, threw me out on the street, and took my son. Every day he threatens me." Her voice broke on the last word, and she had to pause, taking a deep breath, fighting against a new wave of tears that insisted on falling. Ethan's face hardened as he heard the story. He knew men like that, cowards who disguised their insecurities with aggression, who used force to intimidate and control. But his tone remained calm, controlled, almost surgical. "Does this man know where you are?" The question was direct, practical. "He knows," Chloe replied, her voice almost a whisper, laden with a fear and exhaustion that seemed ancient. "I lost everything. I'm selling candy on the street to survive. Everyone abandoned me." The last sentence came out as a lament, a silent cry of despair that echoed directly in Ethan's heart. He looked at her for a long moment, studying her face, trying to read the untold stories behind the words. The echo of her pain resonated in his own emptiness. He felt an overwhelming urge to protect her, without fully understanding why. Perhaps it was because he saw in her a fragility that contrasted with the armor of strength he projected to the world. Perhaps it was because, deep down, he needed to feel truly useful, not just on the corporate chessboard, but in someone's real pulsating life. "What do you need, right this very moment?" he asked seriously, leaning down slightly to meet her eyes, a gesture that communicated he was truly present, truly listening. Chloe stared at him, suspicion warring with desperation in her eyes. Life had taught her, in the hardest way possible, that trusting strangers could be dangerous. But she was cornered by life. "I want to hide. That's all," she said in a weak voice, as if ashamed to admit her fear. Ethan took a deep breath, making a decision that, though he didn't know it yet, would change the course of both their lives forever. "Come with me," he said with a firmness that allowed no refusal, extending a hand to her. She took a step back, instinctive fear taking over. Her eyes widened. "What are you going to do to me?" "I don't know you." Her breathing was rapid, her heart pounding in her chest. She had every right to be afraid. Ethan understood her hesitation and quickly tried to reassure her. "My name is Ethan. I'm the vice president of Apex Industries. If you accept, I can give you a job and help you." He pulled a business card from his wallet, the texture of the high-quality cardstock offering something concrete, something she could verify, an anchor of reality in her sea of uncertainty. Chloe hesitated, taking the card with trembling hands. Her options were scarce, and the fear of her ex-husband was a physical presence tightening her throat. She looked at the card, at the imposing name and title, then at Ethan's face, and finally at the street that had been her home and her hell for the past few weeks. Still reluctant, but seeing no other way out, she took a step forward and followed him, carrying her small box of candy like the last vestige of her lost dignity. Ethan's car glided smoothly through the streets, the cold air conditioning creating a bubble of comfort that contrasted with the suffocating heat outside. But the tension inside the vehicle was palpable, thick as morning fog. Chloe, sitting beside him with her eyes still teary, clasped her hands in her lap, trying to control the trembling that overcame her. The silence stretched for a few minutes, filled only by the soft hum of the engine, an empty space where unspoken words hung. Finally, she began to speak, her voice shaky but driven by a visceral need to tell her story, to give voice to her pain. "I had a good life," she said, her gaze lost on the urban landscapes passing by the window. "I had a house, a family, dreams, until I caught him. With another woman." Her voice broke, but she forced herself to continue. "Everything fell apart in that instant. It was like the ground opened up beneath my feet and swallowed me whole." Ethan remained silent, his eyes fixed on the road, but his attention was entirely on her. He knew that sometimes the best help you can offer is a listening ear, a welcoming silence. "I was kicked out of the house that belonged to him," Chloe continued, the words coming out with difficulty, as if they had to cross a barrier of pain. "I left without my son." She stopped, tears now rolling slowly down her cheeks, leaving glistening tracks on her tired face. "He took everything. The house, the car, our son, and I was left with nothing. Nothing but the clothes on my back and a pain that won't go away." Ethan felt a tightness in his chest, a pang of empathy that surprised him with its intensity. Life could be cruel in ways money couldn't fix. He had everything materially, but Chloe had lost what was immaterial and irreplaceable. And yet, there she was, fighting. Chloe took a deep breath, trying to compose herself, but suddenly her body stiffened. Through the rearview mirror, she saw a car, a model, and color that were terrifyingly familiar. The fear, which had been dormant under a layer of exhaustion, returned with full force. "Stop this car," she yelled, her voice echoing inside the vehicle with sharp desperation. "Stop it now." Ethan braked sharply, the seatbelt pulling them both hard against their seats. Turning to her, concern etched on his face, he asked what was wrong. "Okay, it's okay," he said, trying to calm her, seeing the absolute panic in her eyes. With trembling hands, he handed her another card. "Here's my personal card. If you need help, find me. It doesn't matter the time. It doesn't matter the reason. You can trust me." Chloe quickly got out of the car, her heart racing, nearly tripping on the sidewalk. She didn't know who to trust. But something about that offer, that simple and direct gesture, made her carefully place the card in her pocket, as if it were a protective amulet. The next few hours dragged on for Chloe. She wandered the streets, trying to hide in the shadows, every noise making her jump. As night began to fall and the shadows seemed to grow and come alive around her, turning every corner into a potential threat, she couldn't take it anymore. With hands shaking so much she could barely hold her phone, Chloe called, despair in her voice. "Ethan, I need help." Her voice trembled on the other end of the line, each word an effort not to break down in tears. "He said he's going to finish me. He found where I'm hiding. I don't know what to do." Ethan was in his office, immersed in reports and spreadsheets, but upon hearing Chloe's voice, everything else ceased to matter. He didn't hesitate for a second. Get your things, your documents, gather some clothes, and stay locked in your house. Give me the address now. Chloe obeyed, locking herself in the small room a friend had temporarily lent her. It was a simple, damp place with peeling walls and the smell of mildew, but it was all she had. As she waited, every minute felt like an eternity. Every sound from outside made her think he had arrived. Ethan drove to her as fast as he could, his heart tight with an urgency he rarely felt. When he arrived, he saw Chloe waiting on the corner of a deserted street, lit only by a faint flickering streetlight. She clutched a small bag to her chest as if it were a shield. "Did you call the police?" Ethan asked, getting out of the car and looking around, assessing the situation, searching for signs of danger. "No," Chloe answered almost in a whisper, her voice heavy with fear. "He said if I did anything, I'd pay dearly. He has friends on the force, Ethan. He's a cop. No one will help me if I report him." "Damn him!" Ethan muttered, rage boiling inside him. "This ends now. I'm not going to let him keep threatening you." Before they could say another word, a figure emerged from the shadows. The man appeared, his face a mask of arrogance and contempt, his steps heavy and determined. He was tall, strong, with a posture that showed he was used to intimidating people. "Barely done with me, and you're already bringing another guy into your house?" he said, the venom dripping from his words like acid. "I always knew you were a slut. That's why our son is better off with me." Chloe took a step back, desperate. "It's not like that," she replied with a choked voice, trying to stay calm but failing miserably. "Please, I just came to get my things. I'll leave, and you'll never see me again." When the man lunged towards Chloe, his hand raised, ready to strike, Ethan instinctively placed himself between them. The look of hatred on Chloe's ex-husband's face intensified as he realized his victim now had protection. "Get out of the way, pretty boy," the man spat, shoving Ethan hard. That's when Ethan saw something glinting at the man's waist. A gun. His blood ran cold for a second, but the self-defense training he had taken years ago kicked in like a reflex. He had to disarm this man before someone got seriously hurt. And then came the open threat. "I'm going to end you, you slut. And if this guy tries to stop me, I'll end him too." The man's hand went for the gun, but Ethan moved first. In a swift, precise movement that surprised everyone, Ethan grabbed the man's arm, twisting it with brutal force and disarming him in seconds. The gun clattered to the ground with a dry, metallic sound. The two men grappled in an intense struggle, trading punches and shoves, their bodies slamming against the wall and the asphalt. As they fought, Chloe screamed in desperation, her hands covering her mouth in horror. The city noise seemed to fade away as the confrontation between the two men filled the space around them. Ethan, despite being an executive, had strength and a fierce determination. Chloe's ex-husband was bigger, but he was unbalanced by rage and arrogance. A punch landed on Ethan's face, making him stagger. The metallic taste of blood filled his mouth. But he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. With a final move, Ethan managed to throw the man to the ground, immobilizing him. His breath was ragged, his heart hammering in his chest. Adrenaline fueled him. Looking at the fallen man, he said in a firm, icy voice, "If you ever come near her again, I will make sure you lose your job and your freedom. Do you understand?" The man just mumbled something unintelligible. Without a second thought, Ethan grabbed Chloe's bag. "Come on," he said firmly, taking her arm. "Let's get out of here now." Chloe, still stunned, didn't hesitate. They ran to the car, and in seconds they were far away, the silence between them broken only by the sound of the engine and their panting breaths. As he drove, Ethan felt the anger still burning, but there was something else, a growing desire to protect her, to give Chloe what she seemed to have lost so long ago, safety, peace. Finally, they arrived at Ethan's house, an imposing mansion surrounded by high walls and manicured gardens. As soon as the car stopped, two housekeepers came to meet them. "This is Chloe," Ethan said, his tone firm but gentle. "Take care of her, put her in a guest room, and get her a hot meal. She's been through a lot today." The maids nodded, leading Chloe inside. She looked back at Ethan, a mixture of fear and gratitude in her eyes. In that moment, he seemed to be the only light in an overwhelming darkness. Ethan watched her for a moment, feeling the throbbing pain in his face. He went up to his room, undressed, and stepped into the shower. The hot water seemed to wash away not just the dirt and sweat, but also the remnants of the battle. Under the spray, he thought about everything that had happened. The day had started like any other, but it was ending in a completely different way. There was a woman in his house, a woman he barely knew, but for whom he already felt a deep desire to protect. The physical exhaustion was immense, but his mind was racing. He thought of Chloe, her suffering, her courage. It was a long time before sleep finally claimed him. The next morning, the house was calm. Sunbeams streamed through the large windows, creating patterns of light on the marble floor. Ethan came down the stairs, dressed in an impeccable suit, but was surprised by his mother, Eleanor, waiting for him in the living room. Her look was serious, her arms crossed. "Ethan, may I ask you something?" she said, her tone making it clear it was not a question, but a demand. "Of course, Mom." "You brought your girlfriend into our house?" Eleanor stated, the word girlfriend dripping with disdain. Ethan sighed. "No, Mom, you know my principles. Chloe is not my girlfriend. I took her in because she's in a very difficult situation." "And does your father know about this girl?" Eleanor continued, her suspicion evident. "Not yet. I'll talk to him. But please, while I'm out, give her some attention. Chloe is suffering a lot and needs to feel safe here." Eleanor stepped closer, her gaze probing. "While she was showering, I went through her bag." She hesitated. "And all I found were nice clothes and expensive accessories. How can a woman like that be selling candy? It's obvious she's lying, Ethan, to take advantage of you." Irritation grew in Ethan, but he contained it. "No, Mom, she's not lying. I found her crying on the sidewalk. I was the one who offered help. Chloe really did have a good life. She was married, had a house, a family. But she lost everything. What's left are those clothes. Her ex-husband kicked her out, took everything, even their son. She's completely alone." Eleanor listened in silence, her expression still skeptical. "Look, I have to go now," Ethan said, grabbing his keys. "But please, give her a chance. I promised I would help her." "I'll do as you asked," Eleanor said, "but be careful. I've seen many women approach you interested only in your money. See you later, Mom, and thank you for understanding," Ethan said, kissing the top of her head before leaving, the weight of his newfound responsibility heavy on his shoulders. In the following days, the atmosphere in the mansion turned toxic. Eleanor, consumed by a bitter and possessive jealousy, saw the attention Ethan gave to Chloe as a betrayal. To her, her son was being bewitched by a seductress. Chloe, for her part, tried to be invisible, helping the housekeepers, keeping to herself. But Eleanor's hostility was a constant, suffocating presence. The breaking point came one morning. Eleanor entered Chloe's room without knocking, her face contorted with rage. Without warning, she delivered a hard slap across Chloe's face. The pain and shock made her stumble. "You don't fool me!" Eleanor spat, her words like daggers. "Decent women don't end up on the street. Don't think you can come here and trick my son with your sob stories. I am his mother. I gave birth to him. You will never take my place, you gold digger." Chloe, her face burning, felt tears well up but held them back. She lifted her head, her heart pounding. "I don't want a relationship with anyone. Yes, I sold candy on the street. My ex-husband cheated on me, took my son, and threw me away like trash. His mistress is living in my house with my son. The trauma I carry hurts far more than that slap you just gave me." But Eleanor, blinded by jealousy, was unmoved. "Pack your things and get out of our house," she ordered, turning her back. Alone, Chloe collapsed. The tears came with force, waves of pain and humiliation. Kicked out again, judged, hurt. Where would she go? She began to pack her few belongings, her mind a whirlwind of despair. She knew she couldn't stay, but she had nowhere to go. She asked Eleanor for just one more day to try and contact her friend. But her body began to fail her. The cramps and nausea of her period arrived, mixing physical pain with emotional agony. Meanwhile, Ethan, immersed in his work, trusted that his mother was taking care of Chloe. He couldn't imagine the hell she was living under his own roof. The peak of cruelty came when Eleanor, in an act of inhuman contempt, stole Chloe's sanitary pads and threw them in the trash. Chloe felt stripped of her last shred of dignity. She cried silently in her room, soiled, in pain, feeling completely helpless. Maria, a housekeeper who had worked in the house for decades, could no longer stand to watch the injustice. With a heart heavy with compassion, she prepared a warm bath for Chloe, but Eleanor intercepted her in the hallway. "How dare you help this woman?" she hissed, threatening to fire her. Torn between fear and her conscience, Maria locked herself in the service bathroom and called Ethan in the middle of a meeting. "Mr. Ethan, please, I need to tell you something very serious," she began. her voice low and anxious. Your mother can never suspect it was me. Tell me now, Maria, what's happening? Ethan replied, concern in his voice. Mrs. Eleanor is treating Miss Chloe terribly. Today, she hit her across the face, and Miss Chloe is on her period, and Mrs. Eleanor threw away her pads. The poor girl is crying. She's soiled with terrible cramps. It's inhuman, Mr. Ethan. Ethan's blood boiled. Rage rose with volcanic intensity. How could his mother, the woman who taught him about kindness, be so cruel? I'm on my way there immediately, Ethan said, his voice firm. Thank you for telling me, Maria. You did the right thing. Don't worry about your job. He stood up abruptly from the meeting table. Excuse me, gentlemen, an urgent family emergency. As he drove at high speed, rage and guilt consumed him. How could he have been so blind? At the mansion, his father was trying to calm Eleanor. Darling, I have to leave on a long business trip. Let's avoid any scandals. I'm sure our son will help the young lady and she'll be out of here soon. But Eleanor, irrational, insisted, that girl is manipulating our son. She wants his money. She wants to take my place. Ethan arrived like a hurricane. He ran up the stairs and threw open the door to Chloe's room, catching his mother humiliating her once again. What is going on here? He boomed, his voice filled with a fury Eleanor had never seen. Are you going to defend this woman against me? Your own mother? Eleanor shrieked, tears of rage streaming down her face. Without hesitating, Ethan placed himself between them, shielding Chloe. Never touch her again. And stop yelling. She has done nothing to deserve this. Beside herself, Eleanor slapped her own son across the face. Ethan didn't flinch. With an icy firmness, he said, Get out of here now, mother. You have crossed every line. Eleanor was practically pushed out, screaming in the hallway, accusing everyone of being against her. Inside the room, Chloe, trembling, gathered her things. I want to get out of here now, Ethan. Please take me away. Calm down, Chloe, he said, his voice soft. Do you have somewhere safe to go? No, she admitted, her voice broken. My friend isn't answering. I think my ex-husband threatened her. All right, Ethan said, determined. I'll handle this. But first, let me help you. He noticed her discomfort. Forgive the question, but you're on your period, aren't you? Chloe nodded, ashamed. What are you using for protection? He asked gently. Some old rags I found, she whispered, humiliation burning her face. Horrified, Ethan felt the anger towards his mother return with full force. He immediately called Maria on the intercom. Maria, please, go to the pharmacy and buy pads, cramp medication, vitamins, everything a woman might need. Spare no expense. Turning back to Chloe, he said, Take the medicine, get cleaned up. I'll have them prepare some soup and tea. Don't worry. My mother won't torment you anymore. I'm sending her to the country estate until she cools down. I promise you won't suffer here anymore. You are under my protection now. Chloe's tears finally fell, but this time they were tears of relief. After a heated argument, Ethan managed to get his mother to go to the estate. The mansion finally breathed. Chloe was cared for by the staff, took a long bath, ate, and slept deeply, feeling for the first time in a long time safe. The next day, when she woke up, she found Ethan in her room. His right arm was in a sling and his face was bruised. What happened to you? She asked, shocked. I took my mother to the estate. I practically had to force her. I ended up slipping near the pool during the argument. It's just a mild dislocation. It'll heal. Guilt hit Chloe like a wave. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I didn't want to cause so much trouble. Maybe I should just leave. Suddenly, all her suppressed emotions overflowed. She fell to her knees, sobbing, the weight of everything crashing down on her. Ethan knelt beside her, ignoring the pain. With his good hand, he lifted her face, wiping her tears. Get up. I don't want to see you blaming yourself for things that are not your fault. Looking into her eyes, he continued, You are beautiful, Chloe. Beautiful on the outside and even more beautiful on the inside. With that pure heart and incredible strength. Chloe's heart raced. Please, Ethan, don't do this. He moved closer, his voice as soft as silk. You deserve all the affection in the world, Chloe, all the love you've been denied. He helped her to her feet. Come, let's go to the living room, lie on my chest, and watch a movie. Let me give you at least one special day. Confused and scared by the intensity of her feelings, she said, You're so handsome, Ethan. Protective, charming. But I can't be in your arms like this. I'll just get hurt again. He gave a small smile. Do you feel something for me, Chloe? Be honest. Please, she begged, closing her eyes. Don't whisper words of love to me, because if you do, I might fall in love with you, and I don't want to suffer anymore. The proximity was unbearable. In a whisper that made her tremble, he touched her face. You deserve to be kissed every day, to be loved. You deserve every good thing. Before she could react, she felt the warmth of his lips millimeters from hers. The world disappeared, leaving only desire, uncertainty, and the promise of something new. In the days that followed, Ethan respected her space, but his constant gestures of affection melted Chloe's defenses. One afternoon, after a painful call with her son, she opened up to Ethan. The boy, surrounded by luxuries by his father, seemed to prefer that life. He takes after his father, she said, her voice broken. Even knowing about the affair, he chose to stay with him. It hurts to see my son growing up with the wrong values. Ethan held her hands. Chloe, the true love you gave him will be etched in his soul forever. And no one can take away your legal right to spend time with him. We'll fight for it in court. It's so hard, she whispered. I will be by your side every step of the way, he answered, his voice a balm. Ethan dedicated himself to bringing joy into her life. Romantic outings, elegant restaurants, new clothes, delicate jewelry. I bought this thinking of you, how it would match your eyes, he said, handing her a pearl necklace. Ethan, I can't accept this. She hesitated. Please, accept it. If you refuse, you'll make me sad. I want to be able to spoil you. Chloe's heart surrendered. Little by little, the wall around her heart crumbled. One night, after a romantic dinner, Ethan invited her. I've warmed up the jacuzzi in the master suite with candles and rose petals. Come take a relaxing bath with me, Chloe. Let's immerse ourselves in this love together. She caressed his face, desire growing within her. Ethan, I know we feel a huge desire for each other. It's been so long since I've been intimate with someone. And yes, I miss it. But before I want to please you or myself, I need to please God. I want to do things the right way. She looked at him firmly. If we're going to have a night of love, it will only be after we're married, after a sacred commitment. I want to build something solid with you. An admiring smile appeared on Ethan's lips. Wow, after that, you've earned even more of my respect. I'm sorry if I pressured you. No, Ethan, you never forced me to do anything. You've always been a gentleman, she replied, feeling secure in her convictions and deeply in love. Weeks later, Eleanor returned from the estate, faking an illness to get her son's attention. Ethan, seeing through the manipulation, was firm. Mom, I love you, but stop pretending and stop meddling in my love life. I've already made my choice. I'm not leaving here again, she yelled. Mom, this obsession is hurting my happiness. I've already spoken with Dad, and he agreed it's better for you both to move back to the other family home. That way, we'll all have our space. This is that woman's fault, Eleanor retorted, feeling betrayed. Though hurt, Ethan stood his ground. Days later, his parents moved out. The atmosphere in the mansion became light and serene. A few days later, Chloe heard her bedroom door burst open. She screamed in shock, which turned to pure joy as she saw her son running towards her. My son, she exclaimed, hugging him tightly, tears of happiness streaming down her face. Ethan watched from the doorway, a satisfied smile on his face. Thank you, Ethan, she murmured, her gratitude overflowing. He closed the door, giving them privacy. After several wonderful days, the boy returned to his father. How did you do it? Chloe asked. Ethan explained that he had answered a call from the boy, spoken with the ex-husband's mistress, and used his status and the threat of a police report to convince them. The woman, a gold digger herself, had caved upon learning of his social standing. His father, that coward, didn't even show up. But now, Chloe, you need to go to court to legally formalize the visitation days. You're right. And he's still a cop. My God, that complicates things. But we'll handle it. I'll hire the best lawyers. Chloe touched his face, her voice full of emotion. While I was selling candy on the street, I cried out to heaven, my God, send an angel to rescue me. And hours later, you appeared. Ethan smiled, holding her hands. The connection between them stronger than ever. Ignoring his mother's continued disapproval, Ethan organized a special dinner. In the magical garden of the mansion, in front of family and friends. He took the floor. Today is a special day. I want to share the story that changed my life. He looked at Chloe. I met Chloe at a difficult time. Since then, she has been the light in my days. Chloe, you taught me the true meaning of love. I can no longer imagine my future without you. He knelt, revealing a stunning ring. "Chloe, my love, will you marry me?" "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes!" she exclaimed through tears of joy. Applause echoed, but the expression on Eleanor's face, present but resentful, was one of pure disappointment. At that moment, however, nothing mattered to the couple immersed in their happiness. The wedding, months later, was a dream. Chloe was radiant in her white dress. Eleanor, true to her disapproval, did not attend, but her absence did not dim the day's brilliance. As she walked towards Ethan, Chloe reflected on her journey. She had lost faith in love, but Ethan was proof that it existed, pure and committed. As they exchanged vows, she knew she had finally found her safe harbor. The honeymoon was the final celebration of their love. In a luxurious suite in a tropical paradise, Chloe approached her husband with a smile. "Is the invitation for that bubble bath still open, my husband?" "Always, my love," he smiled. Together, they gave themselves over to the intimacy of that moment, uniting their souls irrevocably and eternally. Over the years, Chloe and Ethan built an exemplary family. They had a daughter who looked just like her father, and a son with his mother's features. Chloe's eldest son, upon turning 16, decided to study abroad. They loved each other deeply, with the certainty that together they could face any challenge. And they lived happily, proving that true love can indeed overcome any obstacle and heal the deepest wounds of the soul. Video outro music starts softly. Narrator. And there you have it, story lovers. What an emotional journey for Chloe and Ethan. Their story starts with a gut punch, but transforms into a true beacon of hope. We saw a woman who lost everything, humiliated and thrown onto the streets, find not just a guardian angel, but the strength to rewrite her own destiny. A journey that taught us about the cruelty that destroys and the love that rescues and heals. The love of Ethan, a man who used his strength not to oppress, but to protect and lift up the one who needed it most. Now it's over to you. What was the moment that gave you chills? The instant Ethan stopped his car, ignoring the world to help a stranger? His courage in facing down the abusive ex-husband? Or that powerful scene where he confronted his own mother to protect Chloe? Let me know in the comments below. If this story of overcoming adversity and finding true love touched you, please share it. Let's spread the message that even from rock bottom, a new beginning is always possible. And of course, don't forget to suggest themes for our next video. A big hug to all of you, and until next time, where we'll prove once again that true love, the kind that protects, respects, and heals, is the most transformative force in the universe.